And there's Lisa. Good evening.
Can you all hear me?
I
Yeah.
can.
Yes.
Okay.
Lisa,
Thank
can you
you.
hear us now?
Yep.
Lisa's good? Okay.
Okay.
Excellent. Um,
So we have a quorum. So I'm going to call, and it's 5:31. So I'm going to call the meeting to order and I'll do a roll call.
Yeah.
For-
Kelly,
oh,
you came in as
vote
PTA row
for-
8 and I didn't know what
Oh,
that meant.
hold on. I gotta switch my
That's
thing. Hold
okay.
on.
I thought we had a public today.
Okay. Thank you. Doing the roll call, we have myself, John Igneri. We have David Ubelman, Lisa Cooper, Mary Peniston, and what happened to Kelly? She was here a second ago. Hey, Kelly. Uh, okay.
She's rejoining now.
There she is.
You were introduced, Kelly, so you're
Sorry, that was my last meeting.
okay. Um, is there anyone that wants to, in the public, who wants to participate in this meeting? None? Seeing none? We'll move on to business. We have no new business, no old business items, 5 and 6. So we're going to go to administration and item 7. And item A under that is approve the minutes of the November 19th, 2025 special meeting. Does anyone have any changes they'd like to see? Any corrections, comments? Seeing none, all in favor of approving those minutes? Aye. Looks unanimous. We'll move on to item B, financials. Item 1 is to approve the Norwalk Redevelopment Agency Statement of Revenues and Expenditures for Operating Fund 100 for the year to date October 31st, 2025. That?
Okay.
Eugenia?
Yes, for the period year-to-date October, the operating fund 100 had revenues of 529,000 versus a budget of 506,000 for a favorable variance of 23,000. The total operating expenses were 556,000 versus a budget of 599,000, which resulted in a favorable variance of 43,000. And this is due to lower actual personnel and administrative expenses. And then the actual operating deficit of 27,000 versus a budget deficit of 93,000 resulted in a favorable variance of 66,000. And that's it.
That's it. Any questions, comments? No, seeing none, all in favor of approving the statement of revenues and expenditures for October 31st, 2025. Looks unanimous, all hands. We'll move on to item 2. Approve Norwalk Redevelopment Agency audited financial statements for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025, to be presented by Michael. You're on.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to thank everybody for providing us the opportunity again to be involved. This is the June 30, 25 audit I'll be reporting on. And for those of you who have sat through this before with me, it's going to sound very familiar, but I'll try to make it very succinct for you so you can move on to other things and just kind of go over the highlights, because there are a lot of pages here, as always. Just to remind everybody that there have been changes in the last few years to the thresholds that are involved. But on the federal side, if you expend more than $1 million of federal monies, which you did in this year, you have to undergo what's called the federal single audit. And in the state of Connecticut, the threshold was 300,000. It has now been raised to 500. but you were clearly over that for this year too. So we also had to conduct the audit in accordance with the Connecticut Single Audit Act, which means at the end of the day, we had to do extra work, okay, to make sure things are in compliance with both of those. So, and as always, I want to just say up front, I want to thank all staff and Brian and Eugenia and everybody that kind of just, I get their full cooperation. You all understand, I know this is still very much a paper chase in the audit world. And we'll get to the findings and question cost statements or schedules and at the end of this document, which are very important. But we're always able to find everything we need, all the backup and stuff. So that, don't want to just not forget to mention that. But so again, our auditor's report, which is, I'm going by the PDF page if you've got PDFs in front of you, page 3 and 4 and 5. Which is our independent auditors report. It's grown through the years, so it's now 3 pages, but it is what I would consider, and what you've heard, our clean opinion. There are no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in your internal control system that I would have been reporting to the board probably well before this meeting. So again, that's been the case ever since I've been involved in, and that's always good news. So nothing to report on there. Again, this is the standard audit report. It's got extra paragraphs in there for the very thing I mentioned before about the federal and state single audit and compliance with that. And the fact that you are a governmental entity. And that always adds to things. As you know, you have your own management's discussion and analysis, which is prepared by you folks. Eugenie and Brian kind of give us that. And, we do review it, but that is your story that you're telling to the reader, the financial statements. And the statements themselves do start at page 11 of the PDF. And as I put this together, to kind of meet with you folks tonight, one of the things we are required to do on an audit is called developing our expectations. And that's based on what we know about the organization, what we read. I get Google alerts on every article that you guys are mentioned in, talking to Eugenie and Brian during the year, and emailing with them. And so I knew going into this that there were additional state projects that you guys were involved in, still had the CDBG federal grant. And so the major change this year, if you were comparing this to 24, is in the fact there's, I think, an additional approximately $5 million of state, basically DECD monies that were received and expended during the June 30, 25 year. And as to kind of go through the document, if you've already gone through, you probably have noticed that I think there's approximately $8 million of state expenditures that are reported on the Connecticut single audit schedules compared to about 3 million last year. So that is the major change. I think if you go through the statement of activities, where there's about 13 million of revenue compared to last year, around 8, and everything else is pretty much in line. The CDBG grant was, I think it was a little bit less than last year. Again, we were able to get all the backup for that, and it's in compliance. One of the things I wanted to mention while I'm talking about the federal audit, Eugenie and I spoke earlier today on this. I had let her know this, and I think we were holding off telling Brian about this until it happened, and it didn't really happen. So Eugenia, I'm glad she followed up with me today because it's pretty recent. But due to the government shutdown, which we were all aware of, the federal compliance supplement that gets approved by the Office of Policy and Management had not been approved yet for June 30, 25 audits. And at the time, it was unknown, obviously, when the government shutdown would end. We were probably, if it was still going on right now, we would not have been able to issue the federal single audit reports that are included in this document today. That would have had to be postponed until the government shutdown ended and this compliance supplement, which we have to follow to do this extra work I was talking about, got approved. I sent, Eugenie told me, I had thought I had communicated this to her, but she reached out to me today and said, so where do we stand with this? And due to the government shutdown ending, the supplement got approved basically a week or so ago. So none of that happened. We didn't need to bother Brian really with that in a way because life was able to march on as it had always been. So, but that was kind of a unique curveball that got thrown into mostly our world. And fortunately, cooler heads prevailed and we got past all that. So that was just kind of a little aside for you folks. But so the financial statements are, again, pretty much in line. There were no Governmental Accounting Standard Board pronouncements this year. We call that GASB, JESB. No GASB pronouncements that significantly changed the presentation of anything here. And anything that came out really didn't apply to the redevelopment agency. So you're pretty much going to see the same presentation. The disclosures are in essence the same. And I, again, want to just thank, again, Brian and Eugenia for giving a very thorough review of the entire document. That's not universally true in our world. So I do appreciate that. She makes sure, Eugenia especially makes sure all the numbers are tied into the books. And so between us, we're making sure that that all gets squared away. But nothing really of note. We do have on the last page, page 23 of the PDF, the pronouncements that were effective this year, but were not really determined to be significant for you folks. I think you could see just by looking at them, none of them really have a significant impact. The rest of the document are the federal and state reports I was mentioning. And what I always like to point out, a lot of this is boilerplate, as they say, but the two more important documents, the first one being on page 31 of the PDF again, the schedule of findings and question costs. This is on the federal side. And then on the state side, it's the same basic document, pages 36 and 37 of the PDF. This is the area where during our audit, if we were not able to get back up to the transactions we test, and I will tell you that on a typical audit like this, not without giving too much away, but typically in our auditing standards, we do a test of about 40 items from a kind of a sampling standpoint, and 40 items of disbursements and the receipts, and looking through the internal control system on that. Guys do a very good job with documenting sign-offs and approvals. But if we couldn't get the backup to any of that, we would have to report on that in these schedules here and have to delineate the finding or the costs we're questioning because we could not get comfort on the backup. And I will tell you, the federal side probably a little bit less because for anything that gets their attention, it probably has to have a few extra zeros after it. But on the state side, I will tell you, the state of Connecticut, the agencies do look at those reports very closely. And so if there are findings and question costs reported in there, you'd probably be hearing from them. But so suffice it to say, in both cases, you'll have no findings or question costs. It's a pretty powerful statement to make. I just didn't want to, anybody who hasn't looked at this before to think that these are just kind of some cursory reports. They are very important from that standpoint. So it's all good news from our side. Even though there are a lot of pages to this, there was nothing really that rose to the level of, again, what I mentioned before, a significant deficiency or material weakness that we would have had to report.
That's it. Any questions? Comments? Not seeing any. Uh,
Just
Shall we?
congratulations to staff for getting a clean audit.
Yes, big
Thanks.
congratulations.
Special thanks to Eugenia. Everything Mike says
Thank
is
you.
absolutely true. She worked really hard on this, so I just really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And she always catches me when I forget to sign the check.
Exactly.
That's a good thing.
She chases me down the stairs, calls me on the phone.
And I know what that's like, so.
Well, thank you.
Mr. Chair, just as a point of protocol, I think we've done this in the past, and I'll leave it to your discretion, but typically, the auditor and the board should have kind of even a very quick, discussion as to the audit as, without staff present.
Yes, we're planning on going into executive session.
Okay, thank you.
So,
And John, to accommodate that, so I'll jump off as well, but we have another item in executive session. So if you don't mind, just to text me or however you want to get in contact so I can jump back in.
okay,
Does that work for you?
I can text you.
Okay. Yep.
Okay,
Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
David,
David. All in favor?
And again, I want to thank Brian and Eugenia again if I don't see them again. Have a great holiday season.
All right,
Thank you,
thanks,
Mike.
Mike.
You
So-
too. Enjoy.
Thank you.
And I'll wait for your text, John.
Okay.
Brian, do you need me for anything else?
No, Steven, you're good to jump. Thank you.
Thank you,
before
everybody.
you start,
Stephen too. I want to thank Stephen too.
Thank you, Mike.
before you start,
Thank
just
you.
give me a second to turn off the recording and live
Thank
streaming.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it, will you come back?
No, I won't. Brian will. He'll come back and
Ryan has the ability to come back. Okay.
are
got
you,